Hello guys, welcome to this second short video. Let's take a look at these theories of learning in a comparative way. Let's go to the slide number 33 and you'll see that basically we are divided into more or less three schools or three emphases, right? The first one is the behavioristic, right? We have the classical and the operant. So you take a look at Pavlov. Normally, we're talking about respondents or reconditioning. Um, Remember that this is not conscious somehow by the individual, by the subject. In that case, sorry, the dogs. The response was elicited. Yes, so it was somehow extracted. Uh, Forced out, of course, sometimes with more violence or with less violence, with more um, pressure or with less, but it was elicited. And there was this stimulus and response relationship, right? Like we have a stimulus and we get a response. Take a look at the arrow direction, no? That will give you some sort of idea about it. Then in Skinner we have something that was governed by consequences. Like remember the rats? They push the lever and well they obtain the pellet of food. So the behavior was somehow governed or affected by the consequence of a particular course of action that had a X or Y consequence, right? The response was immediate. Remember that in this case, we are going to call voluntary the response. The individual decided to do it. Of course, eventually it was not so voluntary because it was conditioned, right? But at least the decision of doing or not something, it was somehow emitted, sorry, by the subject. We have also reward and the stimulus over there, right? Sorry, the response and the stimulus, that is the reward. So we are going to determine certain behaviors or to reinforce certain behaviors by providing a reward or sometimes a punishment, even though remember that Skinner was not really down with punishment. Like he didn't consider that it was very effective. It was effective until some point, but not without consequences, right? And finally, we have a program instruction, right? You already gave me a lot of examples of operant conditioning in classes, um, in your personal lives, fears, and different things that were reasonable or not, right? Um, then we have the cognitive one. Yes, this is, let's say, the previous two or three where, because even Watson is included in there. Remember, like we don't have it over there in the graphic, but he belongs to the same school, right? The Watson's behaviorism. So all of that were sorry, based on behavior, on how an individual reacts, acts, or behaves. The next one is more related to knowledge. Yes, that is why it is cognitive. Yes, so we have Oswald with this meaningful and equals powerful. So all the relationships between the isolated things is what makes knowledge powerful or learning potentially good. Yes. Uh, Road tends to be weak, and you already gave me a lot of examples with that. Remember that we talk about intellectual and physical activities that you forgot because you basically learned it by rote, and most of the cases it is not very successful. Although you also gave me like some other examples, some other cases in which things that you learn by rote are already in your system, are still in your system, and you can make use of it. And we talk about this systematic forgetting and the cognitive pruning, right? Like how we sometimes forget certain things to give space to more general knowledge, right? We talked about that before. I gave you the example of of the infant getting burned with a recipient, with a hot recipient or something like that, and then making the generalization about temperature, right? Not only the pot in the oven is going to burn you, but anything that has a high temperature, right? So take a look at that video again if it's necessary for you. And then we have this constructivist over here that has to do a lot more with emotion and with somehow motivation and encouragement, no? And in there we have a Rogers and we have Maslow as well. Again, it is not necessarily on the graphic, but I already mentioned it to you. And this has to do more with the motivation of the individual, how you can be functional as a human being, being able to learn how to learn in community, empowerment, all these different things, right? That remember that in Maslow are a little bit more concrete thanks to his pyramid, and in Rogers they seem to be a little bit more general, okay? That's it. So guys, since the content of week number 1 until this one, and more importantly the content, more importantly than the content is the comprehension, the understanding of this, and the possibility of using this in your context. We have been using this hopefully in practical terms while identifying certain fears, certain traumas, identifying certain techniques of teaching from some of your teachers, from yourself, right? So from the week number 1 until this week, that is the number 7, will go the evaluation, okay? So what is going to be the assignment? I am going to give you only one this week. You can work in groups up to 5 people. And basically what I'm going to do is to give you a test, a psycholinguistic test that I did in a former semester, right? Every semester I change my tests. The ones who have taken classes with me before know that, like I never repeat my tests. So I create a new one for each semester. So I'm going to give you one of those, one that was actually applied in a former semester. So you get to know more or less what is the modality, what are the ideas, so you can sort of plan on timing, on difficulty, on certain things, right? As this is practice for the quiz, you can do it collectively, and that will be fine. So simply you're going to download it, solve it, and upload it one more time under the regular rules of collective works, collective reports, and that will be it. I want you to to read it and to verify what are some things that are meaningful for studying or for checking or for clarifying in the common exam, and well, that's it. Yes. So make sure that everybody works, that everybody's in touch with the questions, and that everybody can contribute with the answers, because as I mentioned, this is going to be very good preparation for the exam that will be individual. Yes. So it will give you a very general idea of how it is. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much for the attention. Good luck with the exam. As I mentioned, we will see each other in a synchronic session. So bring me any questions or suggestions that you may have for the evaluation. And that's it. So thank you very much. See you around. Hugs. Bye bye.